Cristiano Ronaldo walked into Houston chasing history, but by the time he walked out, the entire stadium was chanting the name of the one man he could never fully escape: Lionel Messi. This was not supposed to be a humiliation. This was supposed to be Ronaldo's answer. One night earlier, Messi had lit up the World Cup with a breathtaking hat-trick, sending the internet into chaos and reopening the GOAT debate all over again. Mbappe had already scored. Haaland had already scored. The biggest names in football were delivering under the brightest lights. So when Portugal stepped onto the field against DR Congo, every camera, every headline, every fan, and every rival was waiting for one thing: Cristiano Ronaldo's response. At 41 years old, this was more than just another World Cup match. This was Ronaldo's last great stage, his final chance to remind the world that legends do not fade quietly. Portugal had the stars, the possession, the midfield, the expectations, and the early goal. On paper, this looked like the perfect night for CR7 to write another golden chapter. But football does not care about fairy tales. Portugal scored early, then slowly lost control of the story. DR Congo refused to collapse. They defended with discipline, countered with belief, and stunned the world by dragging one of the tournament favorites into a painful draw. And Ronaldo, the man everyone expected to dominate, became the center of every criticism. 3 shots, 0 on target, barely involved. No magical moment, no historic goal, no answer to Messi. Then came the cruelest part. As Ronaldo walked toward the tunnel, frustrated and alone, voices from the crowd began to rise. Not his name, not Portugal's name, Messi's name. For a player who built his career on proving doubters wrong, this was more than a bad game. It felt like a public judgment. So what really happened in Houston? Was Ronaldo selfish? Was Portugal trapped by his legacy? Or did the world just witness the beginning of the end for one of football's greatest icons? So now the question is bigger than one missed chance, bigger than one frustrating draw, and bigger than one viral chant. Did Houston expose the truth about Portugal's biggest problem? Or did the world simply judge Cristiano Ronaldo too soon? Drop your country in the comments and tell us where you're watching from, because this debate is exploding everywhere. And if you want the full story behind Ronaldo's most dangerous World Cup crisis yet, hit subscribe now, because what happens next could change Portugal's tournament forever. Portugal did not enter this match like an underdog. They entered like a nation carrying one of the deepest squads in the tournament. Bruno Fernandes, Vitinha, João Neves, Nuno Mendes, Bernardo Silva, Rafael Leão, Francisco Conceição. Everywhere you looked, there was quality. This was not a team short on talent. This was a team built to dominate, and for the first few minutes, it looked exactly that way. The early goal should have settled everything. João Neves arrived with perfect timing, rose above the pressure, and gave Portugal the lead almost before DR Congo had time to breathe. The stadium expected the floodgates to open, fans expected Ronaldo to smell blood, commentators expected Portugal to turn possession into punishment. But after that goal, something strange happened. Portugal stopped attacking with freedom. They passed the ball, but without danger. They controlled possession, but not the match. They moved from side to side, but the final ball never came with conviction. DR Congo, instead of panicking, grew stronger with every minute. Their defensive shape stayed compact. Their midfield refused to be bullied. Their forwards waited patiently for one mistake, and that mistake came. Right before halftime, Yohan Wissa delivered the moment DR Congo had dreamed about for generations. One chance, one header, one unforgettable equalizer. Suddenly, Portugal's perfect opening had turned into a crisis. Ronaldo stood there, frustrated, realizing that this was no longer a routine World Cup night. It was becoming a trap. The second half was supposed to be Ronaldo's stage. Instead, it became evidence for his critics. Portugal needed movement, speed, unpredictability. But every attack seemed to bend toward one man in the box. Every cross felt forced. Every decision carried the weight of his name. Portugal had the ball. DR Congo had the belief. And by the final whistle, belief had won the emotional battle. The most painful part for Ronaldo fans is that this night did not have to end this way. There were moments when everything could have changed. One clean finish, one smart decision, one selfless movement, and the entire football world would be telling a different story. But that is the cruelty of the World Cup. It does not remember what almost happened, it remembers what did. In the second half, Ronaldo finally found space. Portugal worked the ball into dangerous areas, Bruno Fernandes drifted into pockets, and Francisco Conceição tried to inject speed into a slow attack. Then came the first big moment. Ronaldo received the ball in a position where the old Cristiano would have terrified every defender in the stadium. The crowd lifted, The cameras tightened. Portugal fans held their breath, but the shot went wide. It was not just a miss, it was the kind of miss that made everyone replay the build-up and ask a different question. Should Ronaldo have even taken it? Behind him, Bruno Fernandes reacted with visible frustration, as if he had seen the better solution before the ball ever reached Ronaldo's foot. The team needed a goal. Ronaldo wanted one. Then came the second moment, even more damaging. The ball came across the box, Ronaldo was free, Bruno was behind him. A simple leave could have created a tap-in, but Ronaldo attacked the ball himself and failed to hit the target. That was the moment the conversation shifted. This was no longer just about age, it was about decision-making. It was about whether Portugal's attack had become too focused on helping Ronaldo complete his personal story instead of helping Portugal win football matches. Thierry Henry would later say what millions were thinking: the team needs to score, not you. And once that sentence entered the air, it became impossible to ignore. When Thierry Henry speaks about movement inside the box, football listens. This is not a retired player chasing attention. This is a World Cup winner, one of the smartest forwards of his generation, a man who understands how one run can destroy a defense without ever touching the ball. And after Portugal's draw, Henry did not hide behind polite words. His message was simple, sharp, and devastating. The team needs to score, not Cristiano Ronaldo. That sentence cut through the noise because it attacked the biggest issue without attacking Ronaldo's greatness. Henry was not saying Ronaldo had never been elite. He was saying that on this night, his hunger for a personal goal may have hurt Portugal's chances. Then Zlatan Ibrahimovic added his own judgment. Zlatan, a striker who built a career on ego, power, and confidence, still understood the basic responsibility of a centre forward. Sometimes you move to create space for someone else. Sometimes the best play is not the shot. Sometimes the most dangerous striker is the one who drags defenders away. And according to Zlatan, Ronaldo made the wrong choice. That mattered because it came from another alpha, another superstar, another player who knew what it felt like to carry a team, chase records, and live under pressure. When even Zlatan says the selfless run was missing, the criticism becomes harder to dismiss. For years, Ronaldo's obsession with scoring was his greatest weapon. It made him ruthless. It made him historic. It made him one of the most feared players football has ever seen. But in Houston, that same instinct looked different. It looked heavy. It looked predictable. It looked like Portugal were serving a legacy instead of chasing a result. And once legends began saying it out loud, fans followed. There are insults in football, and then there are moments that feel designed by destiny to hurt more than anything else. Ronaldo has heard boos before. He has faced hostile stadiums. He has been mocked, doubted, whistled, and criticized across 2 decades at the top. But this was different. As he walked toward the tunnel after the draw, the chant began to rise. Not from Portugal fans, not from his teammates, from the crowd that had just witnessed a giant stumble. The word was simple. The message was brutal. Messi, Messi, Messi. For anyone else, it might have been just a chant. For Ronaldo, it was a shadow returning at the worst possible moment. One night earlier, Lionel Messi had delivered the kind of performance that makes history feel scripted. A World Cup hat-trick. A statement. A reminder that even late in his career, he could still bend the tournament around his left foot. Ronaldo was supposed to answer. Instead, he left the field scoreless. That contrast became the story. Messi flying. Ronaldo frustrated, Messi celebrated, Ronaldo questioned, Messi chasing records with magic, Ronaldo chasing records under pressure. The GOAT debate did not need a direct match between Argentina and Portugal. It had already found its battlefield. And for Ronaldo, the chant was not just about one bad game. It was about the fear that time had finally caught him. The fear that the world was no longer waiting for him to explode, but waiting for him to admit he could not do it the same way anymore. That is why the moment went viral. Not because fans shouted a name, but because they shouted the one name that has followed Ronaldo everywhere. And this time, he had no goal to silence it. If Henry's criticism was tactical, Kevin Prince Boateng's was emotional. He did not just question Ronaldo's movement, he questioned his role, his place, his responsibility to the team. Boateng's message was the one many fans had whispered, but few former players dared to say so directly. If Ronaldo truly wants Portugal to go far, maybe he should step aside and let the younger players flow. That sentence hit hard because Portugal's squad is not empty. This is not a weak team depending on one aging superstar. This is a golden generation filled with pace, creativity, and technical brilliance. Bruno can create. Vitinha can control rhythm. João Neves can break lines. Rafael Leão can stretch defenses. Francisco Conceição can attack tired legs. Portugal have weapons everywhere. But when Ronaldo starts, the system changes. Players look for him, crosses come earlier, runs are adjusted, decisions are shaped by his presence, and that is the danger Boateng was pointing at. Greatness can inspire a team, but it can also bend a team until everyone forgets their own instincts. Boateng even offered a solution. Ronaldo as a late-game weapon. Bring him on for the final 15 or 20 minutes. Let him attack tired defenders. Let him use his experience, his timing, his penalty box instinct. Let him still matter without forcing the entire system to orbit around him from the first whistle. It was not disrespect, it was strategy. But for a legend like Ronaldo, that kind of role would be almost impossible to accept emotionally. He has spent his entire career as the main character, the starter, the finisher, the record breaker, the man his team looks to when pressure becomes unbearable. Now, the question is whether he can become something different before Portugal's World Cup dream slips away. Roberto Martinez may have the hardest job in world football right now, not because he lacks talent, but because he has too much history standing in front of him. Dropping Cristiano Ronaldo is not a normal coaching decision. It is not like changing a winger or rotating a midfielder. It is a decision that shakes the dressing room, divides fans, dominates headlines, and instantly becomes bigger than the match itself. Ronaldo is not just Portugal's captain. He is Portugal's most famous athlete ever. He is a global brand, a national symbol, and one of the most decorated players in the sport's history. But World Cups are not won by reputation. Martinez defended him after the game by calling him the best goalscorer in world football. On one level, that is true. Ronaldo's numbers are historic, his career is untouchable, his hunger is legendary, but football at the highest level is not played in a museum. It is played in real time against fast defenders, compact blocks, and teams that can punish hesitation. Against DR Congo, Portugal looked trapped between respect and reality. The midfield had control but lacked risk. The attack had names but lacked rhythm. Ronaldo had presence but lacked impact. And Martinez had options on the bench but lacked the courage to make the biggest call. That is why Chris Sutton's criticism landed so loudly. He suggested Martinez was scared to take Ronaldo off. And whether fans agree or not, the question now exists. Who is really controlling Portugal's attack? The manager with the tactical board? Or the legend whose career has become too enormous to manage? Until Martinez answers that question, every Portugal match will carry the same tension. Every missed chance will become a debate. Every substitution will become a statement. Every minute Ronaldo stays on the field will be judged like evidence. And Portugal cannot afford that forever. It would be easy to make this entire story about Ronaldo's disappointment, but that would be unfair to the team that turned his nightmare into reality. DR Congo did not steal a point by accident. They earned it with courage, discipline, and belief. They were facing one of Europe's most talented squads, a team filled with Champions League level players, and led by one of the most famous athletes on earth. Most people expected them to defend desperately, concede early, and eventually collapse under pressure. And after Portugal scored in the opening minutes, that prediction looked ready to come true. But DR Congo refused to follow the script. They stayed compact. They did not chase the ball blindly. They let Portugal have possession in areas that did not hurt them, then closed the spaces where danger could appear. Every tackle felt personal. Every clearance felt like a message. Every counter-attack reminded Portugal that this was not a training session. Then Yohan Wissa gave them history. His equalizer was not just a goal. It was a symbol. A first World Cup goal in generations. A goal against Portugal. A goal on a night the world had tuned in to watch Cristiano Ronaldo. For DR Congo fans, this was not about mocking a legend. This was about proving their team belonged on the biggest stage. And maybe that is the most beautiful part of football. One nation arrives expecting a coronation. Another arrives fighting for recognition. By the end, the smaller story becomes the bigger truth. DR Congo walked off with pride. Portugal walked off with questions. That is why this result mattered. It was not just a Ronaldo crisis, it was DR Congo's arrival. Emotion makes the headlines, but numbers make the case harder to deny. And the numbers around Ronaldo and Portugal are becoming uncomfortable. 3 shots, 0 on target, minimal touches, little involvement in build-up play, another major tournament match without a goal from open play. Another night where Portugal's attack looked less dangerous than its talent should allow. One bad game can be forgiven. Every legend has them. But this is not just one match anymore. The concern is the pattern. Portugal have world-class creators, but their attack often looks slow when everything has to end with Ronaldo. They have fast wide players, but crosses become predictable. They have midfielders who can combine through the center, but the penalty box becomes crowded around one target. That is the tactical problem. Ronaldo still knows where goals live. He still has instincts very few players can teach. He still carries a presence defenders respect. But presence alone does not stretch a defense. Reputation alone does not press. History alone does not create separation. At 41, the margins are brutal. A step slower becomes a blocked lane. A delayed movement becomes a missed chance. A selfish decision becomes a viral clip. The same hunger that once made Ronaldo unstoppable can now make Portugal easier to read. And that is the danger for Martinez. If Portugal continue to build around what Ronaldo was, they may waste what this team can become. This generation has enough talent to challenge anyone, but only if the system serves the team, not the memory of one man's peak. The next match will reveal everything. If Ronaldo starts again, the pressure doubles. If he is benched, the world explodes. Either way, Portugal cannot hide from the question anymore. Is Ronaldo still the solution, or has he become the story Portugal cannot escape? The saddest part of this entire story is that Cristiano Ronaldo does not deserve to be reduced to one bad night. No player with his career should be mocked as if 20 years of greatness vanished in 90 minutes. He has carried Portugal through moments no fan will ever forget. He changed the standard of professionalism. He made impossible records feel normal. He inspired millions to believe that obsession, discipline, and sacrifice could turn talent into history. But football's hardest lesson is that greatness must also know when to evolve. Portugal's challenge now is not to disrespect Ronaldo, it is to protect the team and protect his legacy at the same time. That may mean using him differently. That may mean giving younger players more freedom. That may mean asking Ronaldo to become a weapon, not the entire system. Because leadership is not only about demanding the ball in the biggest moments, sometimes leadership is about recognizing what the team needs more than what your record demands. For Martinez, the strategy is clear but painful. Portugal must play faster. They must stop forcing every attack into predictable areas. Bruno, Vitinha, João Neves, Leão, and Conceição need freedom to create without hesitation. Ronaldo can still help, but Portugal cannot allow the World Cup to become a farewell tour if it costs them a chance to win. For Ronaldo, the lesson is even deeper. Legends are remembered not only for how long they fight, but for how wisely they adapt. There is honor in starting, there is also honor in helping from the bench. There is honor in scoring. There is also honor in creating space so someone else can score. This does not have to end in bitterness. It can end with maturity, respect, and one final contribution to Portugal's dream. But only if everyone is brave enough to tell the truth. Now it's your turn. Do you believe Ronaldo still has one final heroic chapter left in him? Or is Portugal's future already moving in a new direction? Tell us your honest take in the comments and let us know where you're watching from. If this story pulled you in, hit like, share it with another football fan, and subscribe to the channel because the next twist in this World Cup drama may be even bigger than this one.